Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like if you do like it. This is a review for Muzzle Tough, and with me today to say Muzzle Tough are my good friends Matt Hunter and Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor. Say Muzzle Tough, guys.
Muzzle Tough. And actually, the timing couldn't be any more perfect because I just sang for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So to all our friends out there who celebrated, I hope you had wonderful holidays and Shana Tova and Mazel Tov or Muzzle Tough. See, I'm glad we started with this because it wasn't until a few years ago I'm like, this title doesn't make any sense. Why are we talking about muzzles that are tough?
Yes.
And then I realized Mazel Tov, and the light bulb came on, and then they turned it off because I didn't pay my bill. I was like, I finally got the pun.
Yeah, it's a Yiddish Jewish greeting.
It's a Jewish phrase used to express congratulations for a happy and a significant event or occasion.
And it's a pun because what do you call a dog's face? A dog's face is a muzzle. And Hector is a bulldog. He has a tough muzzle.
And he's Jewish, so there you are. So as mentioned, this is a review for Muzzle Tough, released on the 26th of June 1954. It's the 714th in the series, and it's directed by Friz Freleng. When we recorded this review, all we had available was the I Love Tweety version, which wasn't too bad, but it's not perfect either. So thankfully, in the recently announced Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 4 Blu-ray set, it's going to be fully restored. But that hasn't been released yet at the time of this recording, but I will add a link below to this set. This is under copyright. You will not find this on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves decide to release it on their own channel. But what happens in this one? You have Granny and some movers who look very excited at their job. She's trying to find a house. She finally finds it because she's moving in this swanky house. I'm assuming it's Manhattan or whatever. We'll assume it's there anyway. And Sylvester's sleeping, so I'm assuming he's Australian this one. He notices that this new owner has a bird in there, but she also has Hector the Bulldog as well, and you get the usual shenanigans associated with that.
It looks like it's a penthouse. It's like a fancy apartment, and it's up a lot of stairs, which leads to a lot of comedy, including lugging a piano up the stairs and all that.
I mean, she sold her farm because she had a farm recently, so she must have sold the farm for good money, maybe to the government for, I don't know, corn or something.
You guys mentioned the whole New York aspect of it, because I was like, yeah, Warren Foster's from Brooklyn. Makes sense. He was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. This definitely has the vibe of New York, and you mentioned this cartoon released in June of 54. My father was born in New York City, but not in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, and he was born in 1952. This is like seeing what my dad experienced when he was very little. This was New York when he was a toddler, pretty much. So it's like a nice little time capsule for me to experience, but I don't know if he ran into canaries and cats and dogs that did stuff like this.
All right.
Of course, I just naturally I had to say dog. I couldn't say dog.
I bet your dad never plugged a cat's tail into an outlet either.
Whoa, Matt, you're giving little Carlos Cruz too much credit here. My grandmother tells me she told me story. No, well, I don't know. Maybe he did one day. It's just grandma never told.
You notice, by the way, the address on the apartment building. It says 165, and in previous cartoons, Frank Tashlin did a cartoon called Puss in Booty. It was kind of a prototype for Sylvester and Tweety. It was 1605 Maple Drive. They repeated that address in I Taw a Putty Tat. 1605 Maple Drive, but let's just 165, but that's pretty close.
Trivia-wise, not really much in this one. We got Hector the Bulldog. He only says one line in this short, which is the now famous I Taw a Putty Tat.
I taught a putty tat.
I taught a putty tat.
This is one of those rare instances that Tweety loses in this short. I mean, Sylvester does too, in a scene that cracked me up a lot. But Tweety doesn't really win either in this one, which doesn't really happen too often. But yeah, not really much. But I just wanted to point out, this was actually the first time I saw this short. For whatever reason, I just never came across this one. Not even in any random Cartoon Network screening or whatever. I don't know. So when I saw it, though, it ended up being a nice, pleasant surprise. I really liked this one. I really did. Because, Manny, you told us beforehand you didn't really see this one before, did you?
I've said in other commentaries that I wasn't the biggest fan of Sylvester and Tweety growing up. Part of it, Clamp It Tweety, I'm all aboard. But Freleng Tweety, Plus, I didn't see a ton of, because most of my Looney Tune exposure was the stuff on Nickelodeon and the stuff on the Turner networks, as well as public domain tapes. And I would see the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show here and there, but not as much as like my Nickelodeon diet. So I never saw this one, but this, like you said, this was a really pleasant surprise. And I've been fortunate that this is probably what, the second or third Sylvester and Tweety short that I've recorded with you. And all of them, I'm like,
They're new
I
to
can
you.
see why so many people, yeah, they're new to me, but just also like, I can see why these are still so incredibly popular. I also felt the same way about a lot of the Roadrunner and Coyote shorts, where I'm just thinking, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. But this is another testament to just how great Jones and Freeling and Foster and Maltese were in formulating these cartoons. And I'll probably go a little more into detail about it in a bit with the musical aspect of it. But this cartoon was just an overdose of the particular musical technique that Stalling uses in a cartoon, and combining it with Freeling's timing. It was killing me throughout the whole short, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the scene where toward the end where Sylvester dresses up like a female dog and Hector gets turned on by it, that animation, I don't know who did the exact animation of that scene, but that's funny. Look at Hector's expressions.
Oh, so much love about this one. And we can look at all this from start to finish. But I think the high point for this short, and honestly, if I had turned it off at this point, I would have still been very happy, is of course the beginning moving company name, Checker Movers. It's your move. That's it. I think the cartoon's peaked right here
Yeah.
with that name. It is brilliant.
What you should do
Dad
is
joke.
do an edit of the cartoon. Yeah, do like an edit. Just do the opening titles, that moving company sign, and credits. That's
yeah,
it. Done.
That was it for me. I was like, wow, I don't think the cartoon.
No,
I was actually afraid the cartoon would just not live up to that. Thankfully, it does. It's a great cartoon. Man.
Mwah, chef's
Chef's
kiss.
kiss. Chef's kiss.
Mwah.
Chef's kiss. And that's an interesting shot, by the way. You got the granny in the middle and the two movies who are clearly excited doing their jobs. You can just see the excitement in their faces. I'm guessing she must have talked their ear off like I'm doing to you guys right now. She's more fully animated, whereas the other two are rather limited. And it's those little shortcuts that Freeze knew what to do.
Oh, the house has got to be around here someplace. It's the only street left. Try this street, son.
It works. It's great. And of course, turn over here. Turn over here.
Those movers probably got paid pretty well, though, because in previous cartoons, it's been established that Granny is so rich she can burn money in the fireplace. It's like, it makes sense. They were well compensated for their efforts.
I mean, I burned money too. It's called student loans.
But that music cue, Manny, I like the fact that they decided to once again give Granny a theme.
Just a minute, boys. I'll check.
Is that the original version of that song, or is that the redone one? Because I know that there was two versions of it.
So a little spoiler for Manny's Music Time. Hooray. According to the cue sheet, and from me listening to it, I went with the original. So it's a sonata from Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Da, 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 da. Or some people confuse it, or not confuse it, but it was also used by Raymond Scott in an 18th century drawing room. If you listen to the recording that Raymond Scott did back in either the 30s or 40s, he's adding percussion to it and whatnot, where Mozart is just literally nothing but a piano sonata. So let's just say her theme is just Mozart.
Yeah, because you hear that same theme tune for Granny when she's knitting in A Street Cat Named Sylvester, where Sylvester's in the box of yarn and she snags his fur and she starts knitting the sweater with Sylvester's fur. And you hear that da 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 da. Yeah.
It's Piano Sonata number 16. So the Piano Sonata number 16 in the key of C major, K545. In case anyone was curious, for composers like Handel and Bach and Mozart, they have a system of organizing their music. So if you ever see something in classical music that has K and then a number, it's referring to something that was composed by Mozart. So it's like his 545th documented composition. He wrote so much music in his life. It's insane.
Yeah, insane.
And this one is called the Sonata Facile or Semplice, so like a simple, pleasing sonata. Because the sheet music itself is just it's legato and being da, 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 da. So very smooth and connected.
So she establishes that, yep, this is the correct place, let's start moving stuff in. And in a brilliant bit of staging, actually. So you see Sylvester, who's Australian, this one, and he's noticing all the items being moved. And the way it's staged is amazing, where he notices Tweety in the cage, and the way it was done, it's really good. And of course, the usual I tore putty tat, and Sylvester's wonderful expression, like, is that a bird? Great expression.
Yeah. He's like,
We get a light little simple joke where he's following along and he ends up butting into the light post. But we see a doghouse. So was Hector inside the doghouse all along during the move? And he's a good boy, I think. He doesn't complain or anything.
looks like it.
He's clearly better behaved than my little Nina. She's wearing a dress right now because of course she is. Speaking of Hector, not only, I just love the line delivery that Mel Blanc does in this cartoon, but they do it, I think, twice in the cartoon itself when he reprimands Sylvester and he starts walking away and it's just like, dum, 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 like you see him like marching back with his tuchus shaking back and forth, but he's just in that very declarative and authoritative way. I like the way that he was animated, like just like bum, 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 whenever he went back. Like you could tell that in this cartoon that Hector was playing no games.
And just how he huffs as well. It's like, ruff. But that bit where he chases Sylvester down the road and walks back and then just huffs defiantly like, is one of my favorite bits. And they reuse it a few times in this short, but it's so good. You don't care. You just do that. And I like how Sylvester just peeks over just to double check. And Hector's looking up again going, like once more, just defiantly. I'm assuming that's how Nina acts, right? Just to acting all defiant, right?
Oh, she's a little diva. She's in the dress for a reason. She's being very diva-ish.
Oh, I can only imagine. The smaller the dog, the bigger the diva, I think. That seems to be the thing with dogs, I've noticed.
Oh, that's 100% true.
But the setup is now complete. So we got our premise. Okay, Sylvester just has to get past this dog to get into the house to get to the bird. Simple, right? And the first thing he tries is that he disguises himself as a lamp, and sure enough, it works. Sylvester's inside. But Tweety also thinks it's a crazy-looking lamp and plugs the tail into the power socket.
Goodness gracious. What a crazy-looking lamp. I never did see that lamp before. I better plug it in and see what it looks like lit up.
I got to ask you, Matt, because you were more familiar. Was that bit ever cut from TV? Because I just figure that would be a big no-no to show kids you shouldn't plug things in a power socket.
I don't remember, to be honest, and that may be why this one wasn't shown as much as some of the other ones. That's certainly something that some little kid might think, oh, I saw Sylvester do it in a cartoon. I'm going to plug Kitty's tail into the light socket,
But great effects animation here. It's fantastic. And in a nice topper, Sylvester starts to run, right? But Hector's there. Hector bites him, but he gets shocked too. I didn't expect that. I thought that was great.
And it's almost as good as, I think there's one that's better, which is another Sylvester cartoon. It's Canned Feud, where Sylvester's chasing a mouse and he puts a coat hanger into the mouse hole and he hooks an electrical wire and then he gets shocked. Like those effects, that's all hand drawn and hand painted.
Exactly.
Now, of course, that would be done as a digital effect. But you look at that and I'm like, wow. And now it makes me want to see a true HD restoration of
exactly. This one. Or HD, as we say it here. HD.
HD, as you call it. Yeah.
That's it. And we get the repeated bit of Hector chasing Sylvester out, which again, that's fine. And now we're back to the drawing board, but we get that topper of a topper. He doesn't like that lamp neither.
I guess that doggy doesn't like that lamp either.
So beautiful. Love that. Love that. And a lot of people do say that Tweety is not as sadistic as the Clamper version, and I agree, but he still has a sadistic traits, and this short definitely shows that.
He could be.
Definitely does. So, yeah, back to the drawing board.
And one other thing, too, with the electricity scene, I know I'm going to say something controversial for the three of us. That scene reminds me of something. Let's see if you guys can figure it out. Because it's actually the first time I ever saw that electricity scene was in Space Jam, when Swackhammer was formulating his plan, planning to kidnap the Looney Tune characters.
And I love that initial bit of musical timing with the workers walking back and forth to the truck. I'm probably going to start calling that the Frizz musical steps.
There is a technical term for it. So yes, I'm going
You
to
know
bring it up.
nothing about music.
Nah,
Come
not at all.
on.
I have my correspondence diploma, the same place that Porky got it from, Porky the Crocodero. That's all my musical knowledge right there. The term that you were referring to is mimesis. And mimesis in music is pretty much when the music in the soundtrack is reflecting what's going on the screen, like the action or whatever. Or another way of describing it, more in a pejorative sense, is Mickey Mousing.
I was going to say Mickey Mousing is what I've heard, and it was essentially Karl Stalling, Well, I say that Karl Stalling didn't invent it, but
Yeah.
he was a master of it. They started it back in the 1910s and 1920s with silent films, because you'd have an organist or a pianist in the theater, and they would have to actually provide musical accompaniment to what was going on the screen, because they didn't have the ability to combine
Yeah.
it on film yet. That's how Karl Stalling got started. Literally, that's how he learned his craft, was in movie theaters doing that with an organ and a piano. And eventually, he was one of the first Disney composers, and Mickey Mousing. That's where it came from.
Or mimesis. Thank you very much. Nah, that term Mickey Mousing has been used. And I said, sadly, a lot of times it is used in a pejorative sense. But in this cartoon, one of the best examples of just how great it works and I've noticed the clips that I usually see are usually Frizz Freeling shorts. Like in one of the Golden collections, in one of the Behind the Tunes segments, and I think it was one specifically about Karl Stalling and Milt Franklin. When they're talking, you hear boom, 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 and then you would see it in the clip of the cartoon, bum, 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 and then they show the clip of the cartoon, and it was something with Sylvester, and it was one of the Freeling shorts with Sam in it, and it's just another example when it comes to musical timing. Frizz was by far the best director in the studio when it came to it. And there's multiple times that the mimesis is occurring in this cartoon with the movers. Of course, Sylvester pacing back and forth when Hector is moving at a bum, 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 when he's doing his little stride. Of course.
But Sylvester has a good idea here. He disguises himself as a worker, although why he keeps his tail out, I have no idea. But anyway, it's still a good idea. But I love the fact that initial bit with the workers walking backwards and forwards, they're holding all this light stuff. And I like how that sets up the fact that Sylvester's probably thinking, oh yeah, I'll just carry something light, get in the house, and then I'll get Tweety. But what do they throw him? A piano.
And the music changes. Stalling, he gives these movers kind of really light sounding music. And then when Sylvester's carrying this heavy piano, which, by the way, I think is really well designed. Like, imagine having to paint that thing with the airbrushing on it. I'm like, wow, that's really well done. And the perspective of it going up the stairs, that is something you wouldn't see even probably 5 years after this cartoon was made, because it would cost too much. You look at that, I'm like, wow, that took some real effort.
Yeah, the staging of that is fantastic. And I love the animation of Sylvester struggling, and Tweety tries to quote unquote help by making him take it all the way upstairs. And I mean, how big is this penthouse? Those stairs make it look a lot bigger than what it is. It's great.
I could just only imagine if Sylvester had a heart rate monitor. I would just be curious at how fast his heart rate was picking up that piano up the stairs, because I know from my experiences weightlifting and doing Spartan races, whatever, and just like you feel like your heart is about to rip out of your chest. And just, I don't know whether it's a baby grand or a full grand piano, but I mean, in real life, you wouldn't be able to pick that up. So, I mean, Sylvester clearly needs to stop chasing after Tweety and compete in like the world's strongest cat competition. I mean, he would sweep all the awards in a heartbeat. His uniform, going to the continued trend of Frizz Freeling putting Sylvester in ridiculous outfits and costumes. And I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Sylvester put on that outfit, I'm like, it is so baggy. It looks so goofy, and I couldn't stop laughing at how ridiculous he looks.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. No, I've moved a piano before, and you can't do it by yourself. It takes about 3 or 4 people. If you've ever done it in about 105-degree heat, which is when I did it, it was something else. Yeah, it was my little cousin probably about 10 or 15 years ago, and they called me over and they needed some help, and you had to take the legs off of it, like unscrew the legs of it, and then it took 3 or 4 people to carry the actual body of the piano to the truck. And then you had to take the legs, and it was like, oh man, it was something. It was quite a production. So cartoon logic right here that a cat can lift a full-size piano, legs attached, however many flights of stairs that is. It almost looks like, what's that artist, M.C. Escher?
I thought you were going to say MC Hammer. Sylvester's going, can't lift this.
Oh,
Can't lift
yeah.
lift.
Oh, no.
And speaking of lifting, I just checked. So a grand piano, baby grand, or a full grand piano, whatever it is. Let's say like in between a baby grand to a full grand piano. They can weigh between 500 to 1,200 pounds. So for Mr. Anthony, that would be between 226 kilos up until 544 kilos. That's how heavy they are.
Wow, Sylvester's a gun. He's a beast. That isn't.
Stop. Hammer time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Anthony, you are going to love editing this one.
Oh, I'm already dreading it. But I like the fact that Tweety leads Sylvester out the window, and in another installment of Anthony's Overthinking Time, I mean, what would actually happen after this? So he goes out the window with the piano. The piano is destroyed. I mean, I guess Granny's rich enough to buy another piano or whatever, but does she berate the workers? Does she blame them? Does she even know about it? Is she that absent-minded? Too many things to think about. I think it's hilarious anyway. And we've seen this piano teeth gag before, but hey, it works. It's funny.
In case anybody was curious, the note that's playing is a D natural.
And now people can finally sleep soundly tonight.
Amen.
And then we get the little bit of reused animation of Tweety from the title song that was used in earlier cartoons. I'm a tweet little bird in a dill today. Tweety, my name, but I don't know my, that's the same animation that they're using in that one little bit right there after the piano crashed.
That's what I was thinking. Is that the same animation? But yeah, it works. It's fine. And the next bit killed me. I really loved this, just with the way Granny is especially. So Sylvester's now back in the house somehow. So I'm wondering if there was a cut scene or something with him getting back in, or they just realized, who cares, just put him in the house to set up the next bit. And he's somehow under this polar bear rug, and Granny, I think it's a polar bear or a regular bear, whatever. And Granny thinks it's a real bear.
Big old bear over there.
Yeah, and I like how Granny thinks it's a real bear. And that pistol she has, I just love how it's not comically big like what Clampett would do in a lot of his shorts, but it's just so funny seeing this big pistol that she has. And she must be strong too, because she doesn't recoil whenever you see her shoot it. And how many shots does she pull off? Because that's like a revolver, I think, which only fits, 6 bullets or something? 6? So I'm not a gun expert.
Well, we've seen her use a gun before. We did a commentary on it when she's a pioneer woman in Tomcat. She shoots multiple firearms in that one. Granny's a skilled markswoman.
Yeah, she definitely is. And I like how he gets shot, and the chase animation is a cross between Sylvester being dressed up and looking like a real bear. And that's a great bit to slow-mo, just to running him backwards and forwards. How it's just that cross between the two. It's great work. And that Topper, though, oh, that killed me as well. Darn old bear playing possum for 20 years.
Darn old bear playing possum for 20 years.
How did she come to that conclusion? What the hell?
And then she blows the smoke off the barrel of it.
Oh, she means business. You don't want to mess with Granny.
Yeah. For his feeling, of course, the king of reusing gags, he did that with Yosemite Sam. Fair-haired hair, where Bugs Bunny's underneath a bearskin rug, and Yosemite Sam, shoots the rug. And there's playing possum for 20 years.
Let go, help! What's going on? Great horny toads! Let go of that rabbit! Playing possum for 20 years! That'll learn you!
Yeah, it's just, why? Why did she get to that conclusion? But anyway, it was a great one. And again, we see the repeated bit of Sylvester being chased out and Hector going, woof, defiantly once again. And again, Sylvester does that. Was it Mimosa? What was it? I'm thinking of the drink.
Mimesis.
Mimesis. I'm thinking of the drink Mimosa. I'm thinking of, maybe I need a drink after. I'll probably need one when I edit this video. But anyway, yeah.
Or two.
Yes, exactly. So he walks backwards and forwards and notices a costume shop. And of all the things he picks, of course, is a female dog. And What a seductive walk being done by Sylvester, showing off, I guess, her assets, so to speak. Just the seductive walk is so good. And what plays in the background of all the songs that are picked? Come on, Manny, what is he gonna pick?
It had to be you. It had to be you. One of my favorites of the cues and the timing of it again. Thank you, Frizz, and thank you, Karl and Milt. But just how her tookus is just in time to the music itself, and it's just chef's kiss.
If you think that's funny, then see Hector's reaction.
Oh,
And
yes.
the end of Hector. That is funny.
Uh,
Look at that.
And the animation to the music as well. And we've heard this cue before in a Pepe Le Pew short, but what's that cue, Manny?
My French is very bad. Valse de Rayon. So I think it's like waltz, Valse. I know the composer, it's Offenbach. That's the composer who did the music, Orpheus in the Underworld, the Can-Can. Da, 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 da. Same composer. You can clearly tell I didn't pay attention to French diction in college.
But the Frizz's timing, the animation, and the music work so well here with him being so infatuated by this dog. And this could have worked out. This whole scheme of Sylvester is ready to knock out Hector, but no, in a twist, we get the dog pound. The dog catcher catches Sylvester as the dog, of course. And we then hear the only lines of dialogue by Sylvester in this one, which is, "Let me out, I'm a cat," and so on. And we know this is coming. We know that he is opening his mouth at the wrong time. Because where is he? He's with other dogs. I mean, come on, right?
Suffering suckus ass! Let me out! Let me out of here! I said let me out of here! I'm not a dog! I'm a cat! K-A-T!
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's the only bit of dialogue that Sylvester has in the entire cartoon. And as the series goes on, Sylvester in the Tweety cartoons kind of talks less and less to the point that in the later ones, he's almost like Wile E.
Yeah.
Coyote, where he didn't really talk at all.
Man, he just turns white as a ghost. All right, we've seen that before, but it works so well here. And those dogs look pretty pissed, but I guess it's something for them to do while they're heading over to the dog pound. And the ending I didn't expect, because I saw in the trivia that Tweety loses at the end. I'm thinking, well, how does he lose? And at the end, he's like, hey, no more putty tats. But then we see cats having the same idea to be lamp posts. So, of course, I could be wrong. And we end right there.
One of those cats has a bandage on his tail. It's almost like maybe he's done that before and made the same mistake and not learned his lesson.
I think so.
A few more musical cues
Yes.
that we missed.
Yeah.
So Manny's music time. Let's fast forward. So yeah, it starts off with Merrily We Roll Along, the Merry Melodies theme. During the opening titles, you have That Was a Big Fat Lie. So that's to say a perfect theme song for politicians. During the opening credits. When I was watching the cartoon, the repeated theme, one for Granny, we already said that the Granny, she had a little bit of Mozart, the Piano Sonata in C. But there was another theme that I think was like the theme for the Movers. And I was like, this sounds familiar. And I was like, this sounds like something that Raymond Scott did. And my suspicions were correct. It's The Happy Farmer from Raymond Scott. You hear it a few times throughout the cartoon. I think the Movers themselves. Of course, you can't talk about moving to a new home with Home Sweet Home.
Just a minute, boys. I'll check.
Mozart's Piano Sonata in C, number 16. It Had to Be You. And I translated the French tune. It was, from Jacques Offenbach. with the incredible animation to it. It's the Waltz of the Rays. That's from Jacques Offenbach, the guy who did the Can and other stuff. He wrote operettas. He wrote lots of different music, a French composer. So how appropriate. Wait, was he French? Let me double check. Offenbach was his last name. So, okay, he was a French composer, but he was born in Germany. So there you go. Half and half.
Half and half. So part of the reason of doing this Watching 1,000 Looney Tunes thing is to come across the shorts I had not seen before, and this is one of them. And boy, oh boy, was this a pleasant surprise. A hidden gem, which I know is a term I use very often of late, but no, this really is, for me at least. Now, for a lot of you, you might have grown up and seen this heaps of times. I didn't, so from my point of view, it's a hidden gem. But regardless, it's an excellent cartoon, and it is really one of the best Sylvester Tweetys I've seen. It's really, really good. I'm giving this one a high 9.5 out of 10. That's how good it is. And I just hope to see this restored so you can look even better. But this print's not as bad, but still, it could be better.
No, I'd say 9 out of 10. It's a Freeling classic. Great cartoon.
Very happy to see this one. Like I said, a hidden gem, 9 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, this one's incredible. And yeah, I'm discovering, at least new to me, shorts like this one. And I'm pretty sure there's plenty I still haven't seen. So the journey's not over yet. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, Muzzle Tough.
Oh, flufferings. What a taste. Yeah.
You guys can fight for whoever could be Sylvester or Tweety or Granny. I don't know, but I called dibs on Hector, that dog.
I'll be one of the moving guys because of my work at
perfect.
the airport. So there we are. It all fits.
And Matt,
It all
since you're the
works,
oldest, you'll be Granny.
Yeah.
lovely.
I haven't had this much fun since the boys got back from Gettysburg.
There won't be no more putty cats around to chase me now. Of course, I could be wrong.